Alright, so here's the plan. We put the torch away, we open up the gate, get a little crit on him. Oh, I missed the crit, and what the fuck is happening to me? Alright, cool. Well, that happened. That seemed really fair and avoidable. Anyway, we're doing a little bit of an adventurer run. I haven't played... Okay, I've played a lot of adventurer, just kind of like not recorded runs of it. It's definitely my favorite class in the game. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but personally I feel like adventurer is sort of just better than all the other classes, and not because he really has anything over them other than just a stat lineup that actually makes sense for the difficulty of the game. Like, I feel like a lot of the other classes start with 4 and 4 as the standard stat lineup for, 4 hearts, 4 stamina pips. But I feel like that's not actually like what the game is balanced for, if that makes sense. I feel like the game is probably more balanced around 5 and 5. Now, adventurer obviously doesn't start with 5 hearts, but he does start off with 6 stamina, which, I mean, I kind of treat hearts and stamina interchangeably. In my opinion, if you have more stamina, it's kind of indirectly giving you more health because it just gives you more survivability, more opportunities to move around, and the more that you can move around, the more that you can run, kite, the more, survivable you are as a whole. So, yeah, personally, I think that, he's just better suited purely through stats to be able to handle everything that's in the dungeon, even with just a short sword and a torch. And I mean, you really can't... It's not hard to find potions in the dungeon, but like, sometimes you just don't, Sometimes you open up those health chests and they just have a scroll of inoculate in there, and you're like, what the fuck do I do with this? So yeah, anyway, we find a pretty good wand early on. I almost called it a staff. We plan on keeping that at least to floor 2. I think I keep it for the whole run, but the reason that we want to keep it until at least floor 2 is so that we can cast the enchantment right at the start of the floor, and then we can decide to drop it after that. You have to take it to at least floor 2, because once you kill the floor 1 boss, it is gonna make you lose the enchantment. So I've been trying to get a little bit of footage with some two-handed gameplay, but not using the mighty perk. So just two-handed gameplay with an empty left hand, just to see how it feels. For anyone that doesn't know, when you're mighty wielding a weapon, you will still drain a little bit of stamina per swing, but if you're using both hands, as in you have an empty left hand, you actually don't use any stamina, and you can use the weapon to block. Now, I don't think it's as effective as using a shield, for example. Maybe it's more effective than like weak shields, but in general, I mean, you really just want to have the block as an option. It's not something that you want to fall back on. I am considering taking this, however you pronounce that, the halberd, basically. It does piercing damage, so it can hit enemies through gates, and it just has better range than the axe, because I feel like a big issue that two-handed weapons have a lot of the time is they're pretty high commitment, and they're not that much bigger than normal one-handed weapons. So when you commit to the swing, you really want it to land, right? Even though the halberd over there with the really difficult to pronounce name has less damage overall, I'm still probably going to end up picking it up here once I do backtrack to that part of the dungeon. So yeah, here's some ghosts. That move is really good on the great axes. That is kind of the reason why I'm super hesitant to get rid of it, because when you are able to set up the held attack, it does do a lot of fucking damage. And then here we have a captain with a dagger, which in my opinion is the worst. They're just so insanely aggressive because they come with a shield bash. They can do stuff like that to you, and they're constantly backstepping because the shield bash has a backstep attached to it. they're constantly blocking, they get close to you, and then they play super, super, super aggro. And if you don't know, if you get attacked while your mid-swing of your two-handed weapon, it will just cancel your swing. So I have to play it a bit slow, unfortunately. I don't know who Skulk is, but I want his Dagger of Tempestry here. Solely for the fact that it can see in the dark. I actually don't really care for Spark Dash that much. I think Spark Dash is super mid. Maybe if Spark Dash had like an explosion attached to it, it'd be a little bit better. I think higher levels of it might, but I really couldn't tell you. I don't use it enough to know. Or at least I haven't found the leveled up enchantment enough. So yeah, I mean, Dagger that helps us see in the dark is good enough for me. I really couldn't care less whether or not it had Spark Dash attached. So we got a heart, and that's okay. I actually would have preferred the stamina here because, you know, I am rocking two-handed weapon gameplay, and I think even if you are not using the Mighty perk to swing your weapon, the more stamina that you have when you're using a two-handed weapon, you know, since they're a little bit more reliant on your positioning, I'd like to be able to run around more, dodge more, etc., etc. Here, I kind of get hung up on whether or not I should take Fireforge. Level 1 Fireforge is not that good. It just summons like a flaming dagger, I think it is. The thing that makes it decent is the fact that you can chuck the dagger. But even then, I'm hesitant to take it because, as you saw, the range on it is pretty bad. It was nerfed because people were not really using Fireforge the intended way. They were literally just using it as a way to summon a flaming dart, right? When the point of Fireforge is to summon a dagger, and you can throw it, right? You know, the dev actually wants you to play with the Fireforge weapon. But yeah, people weren't really doing that. But to be honest, I think the nerf is unnecessary. If you want me to play with a Fireforge weapon, well then summon a better weapon, you know? Give me the Fireforge 2 or the Fireforge 3 that actually summons like... I think it summons like a longsword, and then the final one summons like a Falchion, which is basically just like a fancy scimitar that does more damage. Yeah, I mean, I decided to pick it up just as a ranged option, because unfortunately if you're rocking two-handed weapon, your options are kind of limited, unless you have the Mighty perk, obviously. But yeah, I don't have the hand slots to keep a bow and also keep the dagger that lets me see in the dark. At this point though, I've picked up an Amulet of Light, so I could just get rid of the dagger, which I think is what I end up doing. Unfortunately, that also means that I'm not going to have access to Spark Dash, and I do think Spark Dash gets better in the later floors, not too amazing stage 1. Speller out of Bonfire, I mean, like, sure, I guess. Ditch the map because, as I've said in previous videos, you know, the map is alright. Unfortunately, it's not, like, the best thing in the world. Just because I can see the dungeon layout doesn't mean that I know where to go. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the map is marking key points of interest or anything. It's not telling me where the chests that I left behind are. So, sure, knowing the shape of the dungeon is, like, nice, I guess. But it's honestly not enough. We're just gonna held attack. Hit this guy in the back. I'm surprised that wasn't a crit. And then, yeah, this thing is brittle. So I'm like, okay, I won't use it that much. But it is a staff that comes with an extra stamina pip. So you're gonna see me kind of figure my loadout here. I do want it because bonus stats are just so good in this game. Especially since I'm already dedicating some stamina to some spells. Like I have it on Spark Dash right now. And personally, I don't really want to play with less stamina if I can avoid it. So yeah, I'm like, fuck it. Bonfire isn't an amazing spell, but I can make it work. and I really want to have extra stamina. So yeah, we're just going to take it. Obviously, we're not going to use it because we're using a two-handed weapon, so we're just going to kind of hold on to it as bonus stats. Nothing wrong with that. But the more that I play this run out, I did want to show off the two-handed weapon. Like, I wanted to do a full run of non-mighty wielded two-handed weapon, but unfortunately the game just kept giving me some really good options, and I was like, alright, well, you know, I'm really just hurting myself and making it hard to win if I keep this great axe. So right now we're just kind of looking for the next point of interest. I think at this point is when I decide to go back and pick up the Corbin, whatever it's called, the weird halberd thing that is hard to pronounce. I'll probably look up how to pronounce it later, but just kind of exploring. And then, yeah, right here is when I make my decision. I'm like, you know what, I am going to go back and pick that up. The Corbin. That's what it's called. So the reason I picked this up, even though it's less damage, is because the held attack on it is a little bit better than on the Great Axe. Basically, you do like a lunge, and in my opinion, anything in this game that lunges you is really strong. So yeah. Exploring around. I'm also looking for HP, if I can find any, and there we go. Yeah, I just didn't want to show up to the boss room with less than half my health, understandably. So we find our HP. We've got a loadout that we're pretty happy with. We know that our two-handed weapon is not tied to our stamina, so I can use all my stamina towards dodging and running. That feels pretty good. Yet another reason why, even though the Barbarian starts with Mighty, I don't actually think that she's that amazing with two-handed weapons. I feel like on the Barbarian, two-handed weapons shouldn't be your game plan unless you're still willing to get rid of a hand slot, like I am. Because, well, now your combat ability is also tied to your ability to, you know, be survivable and stuff. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna run straight at this guy. I don't really care what he's doing. My weapon is super slow. I think I actually would have had a better time just using the Great Axe or any one-handed weapon at this point. But you can see that running attack came out lightning fast. So that's probably where the strength of this weapon lies. I don't use it for the whole run, unfortunately, so I couldn't really get like a good feel for it. But I do think that the Corbin has potential. And this is like, I mean, dude, I'm so sick of getting shops like this where he sells magic map, fire pot. Like, what is that, dude? Someone in the Discord server for this game said that they got a shop that was literally 3 magic maps and nothing else. That probably needs to have a look taken at, because I feel like it happens more often than not when I walk in there and the shopkeeper is literally not offering anything of value, or just multiple copies of the same item. So yeah, we decide to use the enchantment. I'm debating just dropping it, and I'm like, nah, you know what, I'll keep it until I find something better. Because ultimately, I mean, I could just bring the icicles to the final floor boss. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually really like icicles in the final floor boss. I think that's where they shine. Because when you're just clearing biomes, I don't think they do a whole lot. But what they are good at is just doing a single instance of weak damage, which is really good for removing spell shields, which the final floor boss does have. Kettle hat, we'll pick that up because we don't have a hat yet, and it just gives us armor. Here we use the cleaving attack on the Corbin, but unfortunately, because the Corbin doesn't really have high base damage, the cleave attack is not super good, especially because it comes out insanely fucking slow. Like, you know, I feel like the balance of this weapons could maybe have a little bit of a look-see taken at, but you see there, I swing into the gate just to showcase that weapons that deal piercing damage are able to deal damage through gates. I think there might be like one exception to that, but I'm not sure which weapon it is. So here, this is kind of an ugly situation. The dude is pushing forward, but he's throwing fireballs ahead of himself, which is making it a headache, so I just drop a bonfire in front of him. And then here, I mean, this is also where the icicles can be useful. It's when you literally don't have a way to push forward and you have to use some sort of range. I think the reason I decided to keep the icicles is just because, the wand I mean, is just because I hadn't found like a bow. I really wanted to find a bow in this run because I want to find a bow in basically every run. But yeah, I just wasn't really finding anything good. This is a really mean encounter. So, bleed has been balanced significantly, where you can staunch the bleeding, and what that basically means is you can crouch and stop the bleeding from happening, and you basically wait out the debuff. But that only happens if you actually hold down the button input. And while you're doing that, you can't attack, and you can't really move around very much. So unfortunately, if you're just being bombarded by two enemies that are constantly bleeding you, and you don't have any sort of cover or a way to get away from them, all you can really do is just fight them while the bleed is happening. So it's kind of the same as, you know, bleed being at full power, basically. I'm sure I could have, like, maybe ran away and kited them out a little bit, but with such a slow weapon like the Corbin, I was like, alright, I just need to get rid of these guys fast. Here I do take the Morning Star. I don't like that it's artless. The reason why is because weapons that have higher than a base damage of 2, sometimes I like to pair them with a whip, and sometimes I do actually like to play a more critical strike focused playstyle. I'll start picking up pebbles, you know, look for whips, stuff like that. But when it's artless, obviously you can't crit with it, so all that just kind of goes out the window. I still take it because I feel like this run is pushing me towards finding items that, you know, I'm literally holding a staff that isn't doing much for me aside from just... Hey, I kind of lose my train of thought in the video here, so coming in to kind of clear up what I was trying to say. Basically what I was saying is that when you have items in your inventory that their sole purpose is just to give you stats like health or stamina, you don't really have the luxury of keeping empty hand slots anymore. So if I'm finding items that are giving me stats, it's better for me to get rid of the two-handed weapon so that I can hold more stats, essentially. Okay, well, you know, if I'm not going to use the Corbin, I might as well just pick up the icicles and take it to the final boss. And spoiler alert, you will see me get lost in this dungeon. And before, you know, anyone in the comments is like, oh, well, you know, you should have taken the map. Shut the fuck up. The map doesn't help. Okay, I'm sorry, like, I've tried many runs with the map. I still stand by the fact that, like, knowing the dungeon layout, but not knowing any of the points of interest doesn't actually help that much, right? So this guy is dropping health pickups. I decided to just rush him down. The Morning Star, if you attack them multiple times with it, you will apply a bleed. I don't think the bleed lasts very long, but it basically wants you to play fairly aggressive. And oh boy, we're going to be here for a while because I'm fighting a zombie and I don't have a slashing weapon. When you don't have a slashing weapon, the best thing that you can do is set them on fire, because fire does actually do a decent amount of damage over time, but you have to be able to constantly reapply it, because otherwise you take 2 ticks of it and then that's it, right? And the reason that I'm not trying to get close to him here is because fortunately I just don't deal a lot of damage to him with my weapon, and my weapon is so slow that I'll just end up getting hit for it, and I don't really want to trade HP right now. Thankfully, that Hellfire Demon, that lesser Hellfire Demon, I should say, decided to get involved and just kill the zombie because the zombies decide to beef with literally everyone. And at this point, I'm like, fuck, man, there's another zombie. Okay, I guess I'll just use it to my advantage. Someone in the Into Evil Discord server mentioned that one of their favorite things to do is aggro zombies and then drag them over to other enemies and let the other enemies get killed by the zombie, because I'm gonna be honest with you, the zombies just have super fucking inflated health bars. Like, the dev hasn't done anything about it because, I mean, it's obviously intentional, but in my opinion, the zombie health bars really should be taken a look at because it's just fucking absurd how tanky they are, man. I understand slashing damage, like, being better at dealing with them, but I don't like the fact that slashing damage sometimes feels mandatory because you can't really deal with them effectively otherwise. Right? And you can't really trade hits with them because they deal a lot of fucking damage. But anyway. And as you can see, like, this is kind of the issue of, like, trying to leave him alive. Is sometimes you're kiting him around, and you just get into altercations with other enemies, and now he's cutting off my escape route to the room. So I'm trying to bait him to swing at me, but I also really hate that they're, like, weirdly intelligent. He won't swing at me while the bonfire is in front of him, right? I don't feel like zombies should really have a sense of self-preservation. I feel like they should just be, you know, fucking mindless, like they are in most media. And he's also immune to bleeding, so yeah, my Morningstar really just isn't doing anything. The fight is starting to get really ugly. I'm starting to get super fucking impatient because I've been staring at the same fucking zombie for so long now. Like, man, just get lost. Then I discover that the Morningstar's super slow attack actually seems to knock the zombie away while dealing damage. So I'm like, okay, cool. So a move that I thought was kind of shitty actually showing that it has some amount of value. Unfortunately, it's still not as good as you would hope because it is so, like, beyond fucking slow. So it really is just meant to, like, counter specific enemies in specific scenarios. I don't recommend spamming it. Stick to the melee attack. But if you run into a scenario like that where all you have is a Morningstar and you have to fight a fucking zombie, use the held, or not the held attack, sorry, the secondary action on the Morningstar to do the spin and knock him back. And while he's being knocked back, he's not hitting you, thankfully, so it's a little bit better. Here, I'm like, you know, do I take this? Do I not? I decided to pick it up, and then I realized, oh shit, my light source was tied to my amulet, so as much as I would love to take this, unless I find a lantern or something, I can't really take that. And then I debate on taking the Amulet of Light just because the light is better than colors. You know, if you have a amulet that does colors, it's fine, but it cycles through bright colors and dark colors. So sometimes the room is brighter than what am I trying to say? Sometimes the room is bright and sometimes the room is not, right? Here, unfortunately, I can't circle around. I prefer fighting bell demons in a room where I can actually, like, do circles. But since I can't do circles, I just gotta have to run past the ghost constantly, go after the demon. Again, another enemy that just has a super fucking inflated health bar. They take so long to kill, but play it slow. These lesser Hellfire demons, though, don't play it slow. Just fucking gun them down if you can. Ideally, take them out from range. If you have a bow, I find that's the best way to deal with them. Stand outside of their Hellfire breath range, and then just pelt them with arrows constantly. I do technically have range in my loadout with the icicles, but the icicle damage is so insanely weak that they're mainly there for utility, like a long-ranged method of applying chill more than actually dealing damage, right? So yeah, if you're curious why I didn't pick up the Vitae Flame before, it's because I knew that I was going to have to fight the Bell Demon. I knew that, you know, the situation might get ugly and I just wanted to have a full HP heal, so I purposely left it. That way I could heal myself back up, as you just saw. I get a stamina out of that. I'm not really upset with that. Like I said before, I think in most runs you do want to see at least 1 health, but if you see stamina... I had another brain fart here, sadly, so post commentary. Basically I was saying, you want to see hearts in your run, but don't be bummed out about seeing stamina. I said it before, but I just felt like reiterating it here. And then that zombie room, there were 2 zombies in there and literally no loot, so I was like, you know what, I'm just not gonna fucking bother with it, man. I can't be asked to deal with zombies again with a loadout that just absolutely cannot deal with zombies. Like you saw earlier with that zombie that I was literally looking at for like a minute and a half. It sucks, man. Like, if you don't have slashing damage in this game, it really, really, really fucking sucks. And it all stems from that enemy. And also the big versions that have like the icy lanterns that death blight you. Like, dude, zombie HP in this game is so fucking inflated, and it single-handedly pushes me away from using a lot of weapons that are otherwise really cool, solely because those weapons can't deal with zombies. So yeah, I mean, me personally, I just think zombie health bars should be toned down. They're really fucking absurd. They feel tankier than some bosses. Like, that zombie that I fought earlier was literally tankier than the Stage 1 boss. Like, think about that. And it's not an exaggeration either. And unlike the Stage 1 boss, like, you can't just run up to him and start stat checking him. You actually have to kite them out, fight them, because zombies like rarely ever drop hearts. Actually, I don't even know if I've ever seen a zombie drop a heart. Yeah, become chilled less easily is like fine, but I don't pick it up because I don't know what floor boss I'm fighting. Even then I probably would have stuck with my armor, but if you're fighting the Demon of Bone, and a big issue that you have in that fight is you find yourself getting chilled a lot, you could consider taking a piece of gear that makes it so that you don't get chilled as much. Here I hear another horn blower and I'm like, dude, these guys literally just spot you from fucking miles away. Like, it is crazy how aware they are. Sometimes they'll even spot you from a mile away in pitch blackness and you're like, what the fuck? So one improvement that the dev did make is he made it so that when you blight one of these pus zombies, there's literally like a tooltip that says, hey, blight seeps from its flesh, implying that you have now imbued the enemy with blight. I don't think this should be an interaction at all, but it's in the game, so you just kind of have to deal with it. One thing he didn't do, though, is when you set them on fire, it just says that they're on fire, right? For other enemies that they're on fire, it doesn't mean anything, it just means that they're taking fire damage. But specifically with the pus zombies, it means that if you start attacking into them, you will actually take fire damage even though they're not attacking you. So the dev did a great job with blight thing, telling you like, hey, if you blight them, you know, they're going to be imbued with blight. I would also like it if there was a tooltip displaying like, hey, now it's imbued with fire. right? Or at least, you know, like the fire is so dangerous that it'll emanate from the enemy, or it'll burn you, whatever the fuck, right? There's just not a lot of clarity on like the fire. Because you fight every other enemy in this game with fire, and they don't burn you back when they're on fire. And then randomly this guy does, but there's no tooltip telling you that that's going to happen, right? In fact, I would say that adding the tooltip with Blight makes it even more misleading, because you see the tooltip with Blight and you're like, oh, okay, so the game tells me when an enemy is empowered from the status I hit it with. No, not always, you know, like it kind of gives like a false sense of, yeah, the game is going to tell you each and every case when that happens. No, definitely not. So here, unfortunately, just gonna be honest with you, I'm fucking lost. I don't know where to go. And this is kind of an issue that the game has right now, that I'm trying to see if the dev can address this a little bit. Having a magic map may have helped, but I've had other runs like this where like I have the map and it really isn't helping me that much. I don't even think I'm looking for a chest. I think I'm literally just looking for the next place to go, right? So you will see me backtrack through these rooms quite a bit. Unfortunately, here's what I think should happen. I think that there should be some sort of mechanic. Maybe when you like hold the interact button to see your stat UI, you know, it shows your hearts, it shows your stamina, everything that you're holding. I feel like there should also be an option to see parts of the dungeon where you've already been. Like, you can see like your past footsteps, for example, right? Just to get an idea of like, oh, I've already been here, this isn't the direction that I need to go. Just to give a bit of a better sense of like, you know, direction, obviously. I pick up this spear here because I think I just don't really need whatever's in my left hand. I actually don't remember what's in my left hand right now. I know the staff is in my left hand. Or it might have been my right hand, actually. There's some piece of equipment that I don't want anymore, that I'm like, yeah, just give me the spear. Oh, it's the bow, right? Yeah, the bow. I actually completely forgot that I picked up the bow. It was a bow of toxins, so I'm like, yes, I do want to keep this, because being able to apply blight from range is obviously very strong. Unless you're fighting the demon of flesh, don't do that then, because then he's just gonna blight you back. But I'm like, man, I really want to keep the longbow of toxins, but I'm just not finding any fucking arrows, right? And unfortunately, if your bow doesn't have arrows, it's not a very good bow. So I'm like, you know what? I just can't find any arrows. I'm gonna ditch the longbow, and I do already have a means of doing blight in the, what's it called? The spell rod. And blight is one of those things that, like, once you apply it to an enemy, you don't need to keep reapplying it, right? It's like fire. Or, sorry, it's not like fire, is what I mean. Fire, the more that you reapply it, the stronger it is, right? But with blight, once you put it on an enemy, they just have it. And there's not really a reason to reapply it. Unless it's a boss that is constantly carrying itself, right? And, again, in the case of Demon of Flesh, you straight up don't want to blight it. Which, again, I fucking hate, but whatever. Yeah, you just don't want to blight it. So I feel like blight in general right now, it might be more useful in future content updates, but right now, of all the status effects in the game, I would say it's probably the weakest. It works very slowly. In boss fights, you have to constantly reapply it to them because they're curing themselves of it. And against the basic enemies, you just don't really bother blighting them because, well, you can just kill them, you know. I pick up the Spear of Cold. Reason being is, like I said, the the longbow is literally just useless. But since the spirit is cold, what I could potentially do is cold an enemy. Then, once they're moving slower, it gives me more opportunity to swing the Morning Star. The Morning Star is only really good if you can get successive hits in, because after the first hit is when it starts applying bleed to the target. But again, it is very fucking slow, so you kind of need to set it up. So, having better access to cold. Again, I could just use the icicle, but I'm just not really using the icicle as much because they don't deal damage. They technically do like very, very, very low damage, but it is like so fucking piss poor. It's honestly not worth it. But yeah, if I have better cold application, it naturally means that with the Morning Star, I also have better bleed application, if that makes sense. So, again, I'm just clinically fucking lost at this point. But this is why I decided to do post-commentary, just so at least, you know, either I decide maybe I could edit it out, but I didn't really want to edit it out. I kind of want to showcase how much of an issue it is getting lost in this game. Right now, what I'm actually doing is I'm looking at the arrow that points to the boss room. So I'm trying to find a route that takes me up, but I can't find any route that goes up. So I do think that the boss room arrow helps, but it really wasn't doing enough there. And this, you know, kind of leads into what I was saying before about there's not enough direction in this game. It's so fucking easy to get lost. Even if you're looking at doors you've opened, even if you see corpses on the floor, even though there's a boss room arrow, which by the way, the barbarian doesn't even get to have that, it's still so easy to get lost. And in the barbarian's case, it's worse, because sometimes you can find like scrolls that have spells that give you direction, but she doesn't get to have that, right? At the very least on the barbarian, I feel like she should be able to see the boss arrow even if she can't use scrolls. You know, we'll just retcon it and say that, oh, the obelisk, you don't read it, it just speaks to you, it tells you the direction to go. You know what I mean? Or maybe there isn't even text on it, there's just a big fucking arrow. And, I mean, even though she can't read, she understands big arrow, right? Yeah, we finally managed to find our way. I'm like, okay, well, you know, there's potions here. I might as well use one, heal myself back up to full. Because I don't have a consistent way to heal, so I don't want to enter this boss fight not being at full health. And, I mean, the Morning Star, I have a better appreciation for it, but I still don't think it's an amazing weapon. So I decided to swap these around a little bit because I'm more prone to using the weapon in my right hand, and I know that the Spear of Cold literally doesn't work against this boss. He can't be frozen, or he can't even be inflicted with chill. Obviously he can't be frozen, and he can't be bled either, so honestly my lineup is just not very good at dealing with him. Now the Morning Star's held attack does break through the ice barriers, I believe, pretty effectively, but unfortunately this is a fight where you are chilled, and when you're chilled, if you're using really, really, really slow attacks, not the most effective thing. So the first half of the fight was really, really nice, but this is where it kind of starts to slow down because there's a lot of enemies, there's a lot of like cold effects happening. I'm not really being given a good opportunity to rush them down. I get nicked by a ghost, which absolutely fucking sucks. And I'm like, you know what? If I take one more bad engagement, I know for a fact I'm going to die for it. So even though I'm only missing 2 hearts, yeah, I mean, you saw, right? I was like, even though I'm only missing 2 hearts, it's very easy to get chilled here and chained for my entire health bar, so I'm just going to make sure that I'm healthy. And then we finally get an opportunity to go in on him and kill him through all the chaos. So, a little bit of a scuff fight, but you do what you gotta do, right? Health potions heal you for, I believe, 4 hearts of HP, but if you feel that going in is going to result in you losing your entire health bar, even if all you're missing is 2 hearts, use the health potion. Just play it safe. Better to be safe than sorry. I decided to pick up this Plankon because I believe it's literally just a Morningstar reskinned. But that one's not artless, so that one can actually crit. Now, I'm not going to be doing a lot of critting, but I might as well pick it up, right? It's just a better Morningstar. And I have the money, so fuck it. Elemental Surge is really the only thing I can use here. You know, melee blows upon blighted foes. Technically, I could make that work, but I don't really want to have to, like, think about it. I'm not a huge fan of thinking in these games. I'm a huge fan of when things just work. I feel like the more that you have to think, the more brain power you have to put into, like, doing your silly combo, the more that draws focus away from you just trying to keep yourself alive. So I actually decided to do something a little different here. Instead of killing Varex, I decided to go for killing the Pale White Demon, because I've heard people say that you can do it, and I've never done it before, and I just want to see how viable it is as a strategy. Now, already I can see, like, when you get on top of her, she doesn't like it. So, she'll swing at you, which is to be expected, but she will constantly fucking fling you around. She'll push you, she'll shove you, she'll scream at you, and most of those moves don't really do damage, but they can push you into spikes, as you just saw, right? And it can lead to some really ugly, like, chain combos where she pushes you into spikes, you take bonus damage, and then Varex hits you with some fucking stupid charge ability, or he freezes you, and then you just get chain fucked, right? So, in my opinion, a loadout that would have been better to deal with her would have been range. If you want to use range on her, just kind of kite her around so that way you're not in range of her scream attack or her shoving. But alternatively, mind you, I can't confirm this because this is the first time I've ever decided to kill her, but I get the feeling that Rogue's parries would probably be good at dealing with her. So if you have a parry weapon, feel free to spare with that for me. But to be honest, this might be my go-to for this boss from now on, is killing her first, because, like I said, I always ever just focused on Varex, and I kind of ignore her. But I think actually fighting her is just a more fun experience, because otherwise you're basically just circle kiting around trying to deal with some fucking annoying mage. It's just not the most fun fight, right? But I feel like this adds a layer of fun to the fight, even though I do think that this is probably the more difficult way to approach it, because, you know, she does do a lot of fucking damage. As you saw, she just did her spin and she hit me for 2 full hearts. But yeah, now she's dead. This fight should theoretically be a bit easier, but also not really, because, again, you can always just ignore her, right? I have pretty good success with killing Varex with just ignoring her, because you can kind of just, yeah, you know, you can just ignore her. Just treat her like any of the other enemies that spawn in this fight. But at the same time, even though I have gotten rid of her, I feel like it indirectly makes the second phase harder, because one of the saving graces of leaving the pale white demon alive is the fact that she'll cleave through these shitty small fries, right? And since she does a lot of damage, usually she just fucking one-shots them. And when they die, sometimes they can drop health, right? Or she just gets rid of a really annoying enemy, like that guy that just crit me in the back. So here, I actually almost die. I panic, hit a scroll. I didn't really want to hit the scroll, I just wanted to use the potion. But we get the heal off in time, thankfully. And yeah, like, these guys chasing me are just so fucking relentless. Which is kind of why the pale white demon cleaving and killing them is honestly preferred. So, I mean, yeah. He looks like a big spooky threat, but if anything, I feel like she makes the fight bearable, because otherwise you have to deal with these fucking assholes that just run at you. And mind you, they respawn indefinitely, so there literally is no reason to kill them. If they actually, like, died properly and fucked off, I would take the time to kill them. And to be honest, that's how it should work, in my opinion. Is, sure, the boss summons ads, but, you know, I can kill the ads and then I can go back to focusing the boss. But, yeah, no, unfortunately, this is not a super... what's the word I'm looking for that doesn't sound mean? It's not a particularly interactive fight. We'll say that, right? The fight could see some improvements, let's put it that way. So yes, stand behind a pillar, he fucking fireballs himself like a goof, and then we just fucking go on him. Again, Morningstar, not the best for bosses, I think it's okay. I think the slowness of the weapon honestly hurts it, and I mean, it's just not my first choice if I'm ever looking for a weapon to use as, you know, my main weapon. Not terrible, but not the worst. Definitely think of worse weapons, but yeah, that's pretty much it, and I hope you enjoyed the video.